Volkswagen has had some great nameplates. The Atlas, the Polo, the Beetle, the Touareg, the Arteon, Scirocco, Golf. I could go on. They still have great nameplates, but sometimes it does vary by region. You know, the Arteon didn't do well over here, but over in Europe, the Arteon's shooting brake is sick. That's actually the only car I've driven on the Nürburgring, fun fact. But with the proliferation of electrification, great naming has fallen until now. So Volkswagen has been playing around with electrification for over 50 years. Not everyone knows that. You know, they had the Electro Bus, the Electro Golf, the City Stromers, both Golf and Jetta versions, I think. Strom, by the way, means electricity in German. And those were some of the first electric vehicles from Volkswagen to be sold to the public, which is really cool. Let me know if you want to see a history video on the electrification of Volkswagen, because I think it's an interesting past. One of the notable concept cars from, I think, 2010, 2011-ish was the NILS concept, or NILS. NILS. That feels to me like the grandfather or father or maybe uncle twice removed of the ID family of cars. The wheels, the front fascia, it just feels like ID to me. I have no idea what NILS stands for anyways. I couldn't find the answer online. But that was a concept, an early concept of Volkswagen's kind of modern design ethos that also came out a little bit before the time of the Volkswagen XL1, which I think was also a pretty cool car. Not fully electric though. But then we have the e-Golf, a true mass market EV and the first Volkswagen EV sold in America. The ones I mentioned earlier, they were only in Europe. And it's such a compelling car that, well, Kyle has one, but so does Jason Camisa. He dailies an e-Golf. I see a lot of e-Golfs around Boulder, out here in California. It seems like a very sensible solution, a very sensible EV. And honestly, I think it did decently well because it was a Golf. People clearly knew it was a Golf, and a Golf has a whole history of being a cool car. So people will buy the electric one just because, hey, it's an alternate fuel, but it's the car they know and love. But then enter ID. Initially a concept car in 2016's Paris Auto Show, we've gradually gotten more concepts and the ID.R that broke records up Pikes Peak in 2018. Maybe Volkswagen saw everyone's excitement about the ID.R breaking records and thought, whoa, ID must be everything. Honestly, it could have been called the Volkswagen Crab and maybe they would have latched onto that. But ID has been, you know, forming in their concept cars for a while, plus that race car. And then they were like, well, let's just stick with that. So enter ID.4. Yes, production cars with the ID moniker. ID.3 and ID.4 are the big sellers, but there's also ID Buzz. That's kind of different, but still ID. Then ID.6, ID.7, oh yeah, ID.5, ID.1, ID.2 are kind of plans. There's also concepts like the ID Vision with 2 Z's for some reason. ID Cross, kind of like the T-Cross, but the ID version with 2 Z's. That actually eventually became the Volkswagen ID.4, kind of in the final production state. Then there's the ID Rooms with 2 Z's? What the heck? And the ID Buggy, ID Life, ID Next, ID Everyone, IDFK, what their obsession has been. But I don't think it's contributing to much positivity. I think it was okay at first, like maybe having ID.number, which by the way, people can't always get it straight whether it should be ID.number or just ID number or ID-number. I've seen iterations of all those spelled in the internet. Like you can see people going to the DMV and they're like, yeah, it's a blue, 2 letters and a number, and they can't remember how the order goes. It doesn't roll off the tongue. It doesn't have this like subtle meaning to it. Even though some cars, people don't even know what the meaning is, it still is an interesting word. Whereas this, people have made fun of ID.4 sounding like the first 3 digits of the VIN. So this brings us to our actual news. Volkswagen will allegedly be dropping the ID prefix from the EV models. This is following the trend of other German monikers like Mercedes-Benz and Audi. You know, Mercedes had EQ on everything, and I think they're kind of rolling that back. People thought it was going to be EQG, but then the G-Wagon electrified came out as the G5 something, whatever. And so I think they're kind of rolling back EQ. Audi, of course, had the plans for the even-numbered cars to be electric, the odd-numbered cars being gas. I think they quickly realized, wait, that means we can only ever have half our cars being electric, or, you know, however numbers work. So they've kind of rolled that back. I'm not sure what they'll do instead. Maybe they'll just stick with all numbers becoming, I don't know. I don't love Audi's nomenclature. It's not that interesting to me. I think this is a good thing. You have a company like Volkswagen with real brand and company heritage, mostly positive, with epic names like Atlas, Arteon, Scirocco, like I said before, and even with their weird obsession with SUVs that start with T, Taos, Tiguan, Touareg, Terramont, Tyron, Telegon. Those are all real models, by the way. Basically sounds like a Lord of the Rings cast. But we'll see. It's so interesting to see this ascent into EVs that every company is taking. What they do with naming, renaming existing models, introducing new names, coming up with silly firmware version sounding names like BC4X, ID4, EQE, etc. But yes, based on a recent interview with Auto und Wirtschaft. Auto und Wirtschaft.
No, not shorten. It's Auto und Wirtschaft.
Yes, the cars will get proper names again, said Volkswagen board member Martin Sander. This question will arise specifically with the market launch of new models. Neither the ID2 nor the ID Everyone will have those actual concept-y names in series production. Great. I think that's how it should have been from the get-go. It's cool to have, I think, the concept cars being ID dot something. You know, it's like ID meaning identity, and that's usually what concept cars are showing or showcasing is new forms of identity, technology. Like it's pushing the bounds a bit, maybe beyond reality. It's just giving people a taste of what's to come and then have the final car be something different. So they haven't teased new names or whether they'll be just electrifying existing names like the e-Golf. And we have no idea on design changes, if any. Like, is this a brand pivot or is this just keep Volkswagen's current electric design trends, which I like, honestly, the ID Buzz, great looking car, but time will tell. Like I said, I think ID should or could stay as concept cars, but maybe they'll take that in a new direction. As long as they have names better than NILS, N-I-L-S. I still don't know what that means. Either way, Volkswagen needs some changes. They're not doing like Stellar with headlines like Volkswagen has 1, maybe 2 years to turn things around. That's a scary headline. But you also have to watch out for clickbait headlines that don't really speak to the whole story. I think they'll be fine. Volkswagen has been around for ages. They've sold billions, maybe millions, I don't know. They've a ton of cars. And they have solid, repeatable customers. And they're making moves like Rivian investment and looking at better AI and better software. We don't want to talk about car yard. Maybe we should for another video. Better ADAS, all of which we hope to investigate in the near future. So, what do you think? Is this a good move? Do you like the ID names? Are you just accustomed to them by now? Or do you wish they had never come to existence in the first place? Let us know. Thanks for watching.